Hey everyone, welcome to the Medusa Yarn and Fiber Knitting Podcast, formerly known as The Professor Knits. I'm Nikki and I'm your host. Thank you for tuning in, and please see below in the description box for all of my different social media platform names and handles. So thanks for joining me. I hope you hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up if you like it. I'm also the artistic dyer and director and dyer and owner of Medusa Yarn and Fiber. So if you're looking for some beautiful luxury hand-dyed yarns, please check out my website, medusayarn.com. So welcome to 2021. It's been a tough first week to the new year. And to keep myself sane this first week, I've been doing a lot of spinning. Spinning is an extraordinarily meditative pursuit for me when I don't have to follow patterns or really pay all that much attention. Just enjoy the feeling of the fiber running through my fingers and seeing what comes out, right? And this was a week that I really needed to do a lot of spinning. And I don't know if you can see, but my spinning wheel is right here, an Ashford 46-year-old spinning wheel. We were born the same year. And I got her a few years ago used at a fiber festival up in, is it Omaha? Can't remember now. Great Plains Fiber Festival. Anyway, I was either in South Dakota or maybe just south of the border into Nebraska. Anyway, I bought her from the shepherdess, and her name was Sally, and so I've named my spinning wheel Sally. So here's Sally. So she got a huge workout this week. And before I show you what I spun up, I should mention my beautiful backdrop, this painting that was done by none other than my amazingly talented husband. He painted this about 10 years ago, back when we were childless. We were dinks, dual income, no kids. And we spent a lot of our weekends, and this was before we were married actually, a lot of our weekend nights drinking wine and painting. And I'm a terrible artist when it comes to that. It's just not something I've ever been able to do. I love doing it and I do it anyway, but I'm not very good at it. But he's got a talent, and he painted this about 10 years ago. And I found it in November. I mean, I knew it was there, but I came across it in November, and I decided to have it framed for him for Christmas. So that's what it's doing there. We're waiting to find a nice place to hang it. And because of that, he's kind of feeling inspired again. So he pulled out his easel, and you can't see around me right now. This is sort of a shared office that he and I have. It's not my studio. But he went out on a big shopping spree at Jerry's Artorama and came home with tons of canvases, tons of art supplies for me, for him, and for the kids. So today is Saturday, and I'm going to run some errands this afternoon. I have to go pick up Oscar from a friend's house and things like that, who's in our bubble. And then when I get home, we're having an art party, as a family art party. But I'm very lucky. My husband is a real Renaissance man. He can like build a house, he can fix plumbing, he can fix the furnace, he can do just about anything. Plus he's very artistic. He's a composer. He composes classical music. He paints. He can hunt with a bow and arrow, like a long bow and arrow, not a compound bow or any sort of like fancy like bow and arrow. So he's a real sort of dynamic individual. I feel very lucky to be with him. And so I'm pretty darn dynamic, if I don't say so myself. Anyway, so we have a lot of fun together, as you can imagine, because we're both interested in a lot of different things and we have a lot of different hobbies. And so we're going to resurrect our love to paint this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's the backdrop, in case you're wondering who did that amazing. Oh, and if you're wondering what it is, it's based on a picture that he took from the window of a plane landing in Knoxville when we were first dating. He just was taken by this amazing view, snapped a picture of it out of the plane window as we were landing, and then used that as his inspiration. So he says he has another inspiration that he's going to start working on tonight, but he won't tell me what it is. So I'm wondering if maybe it's for me. Very exciting. Okay, so let's talk about spinning. I went to town and well, I shouldn't say I went to town. Considering I was back at work this week, I only got 2 things spun up. The first is this luscious blue, purple, amazing yarn, which is 100% Rambouillet, which I believe is a French merino. Very soft, very squishy. And I picked this up, the roving, or the combed top. I'm not even too sure. As a spinner, I should be a little bit better about this. But anyways, I picked it up at at SAF a few years ago when I was there as a customer, not as a vendor. And I think it was from Kristen's Fiber, because I bought her out of her Rambouillet, I think, that year. Anyways, I dyed it up. I don't remember the dyes I used. I just had fun with it, dyed it up. And then now I've spun it. So it's been a couple years since I've had this and dyed it. So it's beautiful. I just love it. I asked my husband if he would wear, my husband's very like conservative in his color choices for clothes. Not bad, huh? It's kind of kinky right now from being skeined up. But anyway, I asked him if I knitted him a hat, if he would wear it, and he's like, no. I'm like, okay, so that's too purple? I don't know. So I think I'll make myself maybe something, a cowl or a hat or something with it. I'm not going to knit anything for my kids with my hand spun. It has to be something, it has to be superwash. And this is not superwash. So I have no idea what weight it is. It looks to me like maybe a sport. Heavy fingering to a sport. I don't know, I haven't done the wrap test around a needle, but it's 4 ounces. So probably a couple hundred yards. So that's one. Now the other one is fiber that I purchased from a fiber dyer and yarn dyer living up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, named Daria. And she has Cloud9 Fiberworks. Here's her card, but it's blowing out because of the light. There you can kind of see. Cloud9 Fiberworks. And this is her fluffy top that I spun up. And the colorways, what I really liked was NCC 1701. So it's a Star Trek reference. And it was about 110 grams, 100% superwash merino wool. And I'm telling you, it was the softest fiber I've ever spun up. Like, I could not believe how soft it was. And it's a kind of gray with some reds and faint oranges and yellows. And I really, really enjoyed it. This I spun up and plied very quickly. Both of these are 2-ply. So I think this will be a hat, a nice warm, cozy hat. And I'm going to try to knit a lot more with my own hand spun this year. So love it. And she's got really, really reasonable prices to begin with. Plus, if you're living in the US, she's up in Canada, it makes it even a better deal for us dealing in American funds. So I would check her out, www.cloud9fiberworks.com. Daria. And I think I've mentioned in a previous podcast when I had first bought her fiber, how she and I have like known each other for, gosh, 25 years, maybe even closer to 30 years, but we've kind of led these parallel lives. We first met, I think we were either taking Latin together, or maybe, I think it was Latin, as undergraduates at the University of Manitoba, and we started hanging out in the same large group of friends for a year or so. We'd taken a couple classes because she was studying medieval history as well. And then we kind of lost touch, right, as these things do happen. And that was, I guess, in 1995, between 1992 and 1995, somewhere in there that I would have known her. And then, out of the blue, we reconnect on a yarn dyeing Facebook group. And turns out, you know, it's like we were both Latinists, we both like medieval history, although she had a different field than mine. Yeah, it's just kind of cool. So it was nice to come full circle and reconnect. And so I went and checked out her website. And like I said, if you like soft fiber and you like beautiful colors and a good deal, I would go and check her out. So yeah, very much enjoyed spinning that. And it spun up so quickly because it was such a joy and so soft and buttery. And anyway, okay, so that's that. Those are the two things I spun in the last few days. And I also had a New Year's Day cast on that I started in my own hand spun as well. And it's a free pattern. It's Espace Tricot's Pull the Wool Over hat. And I decided to do it with this beautiful green turquoise. It's not, maybe more of an aqua, pink, purple, slubby yarn that I spun up from a bat. So there's lots, I don't even remember all of the different fiber in there. There's silk, bamboo, nylon. Some of it was just real fun to spin up. I did sort of a slubby yarn, and as those of you know who are spinners, the more you spin, the harder it is to go back to doing a slubby yarn, because when we first learn, we're trying so hard to get a nice even consistency. And once you achieve that, it's really hard to go back to a nice kind of slubby yarn. So I can only really ever achieve that with bats, art bats that have a mixture of different fibers. And I'm holding it with some lace weight Surrey, I think. It's not my own yarn either, and I had it for a different project, some leftover. And so this is what I'm getting so far. So holding it two strands together is really toning down the vibrant greens and blues that come from this. And at first I was thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't be holding it with another yarn. But then I realized that, again, even though I love the vibrancy in these colors, and that's why I bought it, would I wear it on my head if it wasn't toned down out in public? And again, I know me, and it has to be toned down a little bit. So that's what's happening here. Okay. And I know that this, I look at those big slubs. I know I already know this hat is gonna be too big. And I'm knitting it on a smaller needle than it calls for, and it's a very tight fabric that's being created. So I haven't been giving it a whole lot of love, simply because I find it hard to knit thicker yarn on a smaller needle. Like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. But again, it's creating the texture I want, and even with that, it's a little too big. But that's okay. I'll figure out a use for it. And if I have to cast on again and tighten it up a little bit around the crown, I will, or around the forehead, I will. But yeah, I just want to make sure I'm knitting with my hand spun more often this year. So that's for my spinning and for my knitting with my spinning. And what I want to talk about now, before I show my actual other knitting, is what I'm wearing. This is a cowl that I knitted up 5 years ago, and it's the Neener cowl by Hague. And it's got, I don't know how well you can see on here, but it's got these amazing Celtic knot designs on it. But it's fingering, knitted up on size 3 needles. And oh my goodness, I was still a bit of a beginner chart and cable knitter. when I started this, and so there's tons of mistakes. Like I'm convinced to this day that I didn't follow the chart properly, but I made the mistakes consistently throughout, so you can't really tell. But what a beautiful little project. It took a long time, and I knitted it up on, let me just see, what was it? Manus del Uruguay Fino. So it's a single in a purple colorway. I think it was violet, I don't remember. And I ended up giving it to my mom. There's a couple of knits that I've given to my mom that she has then given back to me. But this one I was really happy to get back. She's just like, I don't think I'll wear it. I know how much work you put into it and how expensive the yarn was, so you go ahead and have it back. And I was glad to take it back. But I love it. It's beautiful, and it's this memory of ambitious beginners. Because at this point I'd already been knitting for a long time, but I'd never knitted such intricate cable work. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, gorgeous. So yes, this is from the archives kind of a thing. All right, so the two works in progress that I'm going to show you today are things that you've seen before. I've made no progress on my beauty school sweater by the Poison Girls. I've done everything except the sleeves and fixing the neck, like finishing the neck. But what I did do is I redid my bind off. I did my bind off, and I don't know what I was thinking, but it was tight. Like, you know when you don't do a stretchy bind off and it's tight? I don't know what I was thinking. I've done this before with sweaters, and it drives me crazy. So I have worked on this, but only redoing the bind off. So now it's nice and stretchy. I really like how it's knitting up, but I do have to finish it. I did start one of the sleeves and I messed it up, so I tore it out. But this is the Beauty School sweater by the Poison Girls. And I'm knitting it up on my Titan's base, so 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon, in my Midas colorway. So it's an amazing golden yellow, if you're interested. Isn't it great? Love it. So hopefully I'll have some sleeves on it sometime in January. My other knit in progress, or work in progress, is the beautiful diamond, Victoria Diamond Pullover by Jennifer Woods of a Woodhouse Knits. And I have given this some love, and I am now ready. I've knit the entire body, and I'm now ready to do a band, which will have some lace to match the front, the back, and the shoulders. It has this beautiful lace pattern. And I won't go through all of the issues I had getting this one started. If you want to, for those of you who are returning viewers, you know. If you're a new viewer, you can go back to the last few episodes. But man, I love this pullover, and I cannot wait to finish it. And the yarn is my own yarn, Medusa yarn and fiber, in my Spartans base, which is just 100% superwash merino fingering weight, in the Hera colorway. So I'm doing 3 balls that I'm changing up, alternating the skeins to make sure it's consistent. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. Now, I hate to, I knew it was gonna happen. I was just about to say, I gotta go now.
Mama.
Yes, sweetheart?
Can we go to the pool now?
Yes, I was just gonna say, I made a promise to a girl about a swim in a pool. So we're gonna go now. Okay, you wanna say hi?
Hi.
This is my wolf. You're my little Wolfie, aren't you? Her nickname is Wolfie. Because if she was a boy, she was gonna be named Wolfgang. But instead, her name is Amadea. Those of you who know why I call her Wolfie, what the connection is to Amadea. Anyways, stay safe, please. Enjoy the second week as we go into the second week of this year. And look at her bangs. She got a new haircut and she's got bangs. And please, thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel.